We got a very fun featured bout here, my man. And I'm curious to see what you think of this one, because Jonathan Martinez is coming back here to take on Adrian Yanez. And you got two guys that have a little bit of different momentum, right? Adrian Yanez kind of had that hype train derailed, as people would like to say, where his last fight out, he was favored to beat Rob Font, a staple of the division, a guy that had been on the receiving end of a bunch of knockdowns. And so people were starting to doubt his chin and his durability. And he went out there, took some hard shots from Yanez, but was able to deliver that decisive blow. So, in any case, we're looking now at Jonathan Martinez. He's got the opposite kind of momentum, Rich. He's been on a very lengthy win streak now, I think 5 fights in a row. He's done a good job of accruing some good names along the way, but he's also been flatlined, knocked out in the UFC before by Davey Grant in a fight that nobody saw coming. So he's not a guy that's been consistent money, delivering every time out, but he's certainly been showing his best product to date over his recent performances. So how do you feel about this matchup? Closely aligned fight. And a lot of opinions flying in both ways on the Twitter sphere.
Yeah, to be honest, this fight and the next one, I didn't really have much, but I've had time since and gone back and looked at it. I think Martinez, in the fights that he's won, I think he's a good all-rounder, Martinez, but not particularly good at anything. And I think he just fights, he picks the easiest path to victory. Like when he fought Said Nurmagomedov, he was the better striker in that fight. Said tried to push his grappling on him, and he really surprised me, Martinez, with his defensive grappling and his wrestling, reversing positions. So I think he's the type of fighter to just wait to see what you bring, and he tries to negate it. But I think Yanez is the far better striker. I think he's got far better hands. And I don't trust that Martinez is going to go in there with the game plan to take him down and wrestle him, which he should. Because if you want to beat Yanez, that's how you do it, unless you're Rob Font. He's susceptible to the wrestling. You can see that in the early days when he fought that guy, Levi Moles, who I've capped a couple of times. I've had to look at his record. Pilate, Miles Johns, which was a war. So I guess the Yanez side, but for me, no action on this fight. I hear people talking about Yanez KO, which won't surprise me. He is hittable. Martinez, even Said was touching him up on the feet a little bit. I don't think he can take the shots from Yanez. We've seen him be KO'd before by David Grant, which wasn't a great look. So I guess Yanez, but I'm not putting my stamp on this fight, to be honest. I'm staying away, but I guess Yanez, man.
Yeah, I feel like Yanez is probably the side in this fight as well. I think that Jonathan Martinez, he's a good fighter, but I do think that the line is being a little bit inflated by the fact that Adrian Yanez lost his last fight. If you want to know one predictive measure of somebody to be undervalued their next fight, it's that they just lost by knockout in the first round. It's like that will make people sell stock so quickly your head would spin. Now, does that mean he's a guarantee to come back and win here? No, he's got to overcome some things. He just got knocked out. He's got to come back and he's got to deal with that. He's got to come back and deal with the fact that that's going to be on the highlights this week. People are going to be talking about that. And he's in a featured position as well. So it's not like he can run and hide from it. He's going to be in some media this week. But I kind of like what I've seen from him. He's talking about, no, I'm going to correct people and let them know my name is Yanez. And like he's letting people know he's confident still. I like that about him, and he's a guy that he needed a little bit of that humbling. I think he had been out there in a lot of fights and putting his chin on the line against some guys. We saw that against what's the guy's name from Massachusetts area? Pulling it up right now. Randy Costa. He went out there against Randy Costa and he kind of let him hang around a little bit too long with those head kicks and with the long punches. And I think that's another fight that if he had gotten knocked out there, he would have learned from that. But instead, he went through it. So he's like, no, I can get into these exchanges. I can make it a war. And he was doing well, landing good punches on Rob Font. But Rob Font comes from a primary boxing gym. It's one of the only gyms that can really compete punch for punch in boxing exchanges with a guy like Yanez. And I think that was a mistake. You also look, Yanez has been through some personal turmoil in the lead up to that fight. He had lost his coach. He had been trying to arrange his own camps and his own gym and figuring everything out for himself. That's a lot of stuff for a young fighter to be dealing with on their own. I feel like in this spot, he's going to get back to basics. I feel like he's going to show more of what we're conventionally used to seeing from him. And it's not like Rob Font was out there kicking him to death. It was Rob Font beat him with the boxing. I think that it would be unlikely for Martinez to beat him with the boxing. I think Martinez is going to have to beat him with the kicks, or he's going to have to mix up the fight in some other way, because I think Yanez is a cleaner boxer with more power in his hands. And I think that the chin of Martinez is a little bit susceptible. So for me, give me Adrian Yanez here. I think the decision line at plus 400 is a little bit interesting, because I think that Yanez has shown he doesn't have to go chase the finish. He did that against Davey Grant. He had the fight where it went the distance, as opposed to Jonathan Martinez got a little bit overzealous and then got straight arm chin checked all the way back to England from Davey Grant. So I think that this is a fight where the KO could happen. It's favored to happen as far as the odds are concerned, but this is still a fight between 135 pounders. One of them got knocked out in the first round last time out. So maybe he's going to be a little more conservative, try and pick his shots, land better shots, and just win rounds against a guy like Martinez. So should be a good scrap here. But I'm definitely leaning the Yanez side.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm changing my pick. I'm going Martinez by decision, plus 300. I just seen the line on Yanez TKO. It's really shit, man. And I think Martinez is from a good camp. You know, like you said, he's going to do the low kicks, going to keep the distance. If he comes into range, into boxing range, he's going to get fucked, because Yanez has the faster hands. But I think from being from a good camp, he's going to keep that distance, man. And yeah, like you said, the Randy Costa fight, man, he was landing them head kicks all day. Yanez didn't like them. And I could see Martinez employing that. So, yeah, I'll change my pick, man. I'll go for Martinez by decision.
Fair play. So that one, I'm not, I'm not super sold, but leaning towards the Yanez side. I think he's a little bit more marketable.